Good evening, everybody. I hope everybody's having a good night out there. So we're going to be playing tonight with the Spirit, which is from Cradle, and it's a vocal processing plugin. It's a signature series plugin based on Luis Bell's workflow and sound. And if you don't know who Luis Bell is, I recommend taking a minute and Googling his discography. This guy's been at the top of the game, top of the pop world for the last 6 years, 7 years. So yeah, this guy is the sound of modern pop and vocal production. This plugin is based on his workflow and his sound. I can't tell you much about Cradle. I don't know much about them as a company. They don't have anything listed about themselves as a company or on their social media that I can find. They seem like a really cool company. This is their third plugin. Yeah, what I can tell you about their other plugins, well, I haven't used the Prince from Frank Dukes, but I've heard nothing but amazing things about it. But I've used the God Particle a ton since it came out, and it's a phenomenal sounding plugin, and that's developed with Jason Joshua. So this is their third plugin in their signature series line, and that seems to be all that they're interested in doing, which is cool. But yeah, I can't find anything about the company, so I can't tell you anything about Cradle other than that they seem to be making really great plugins. Yeah, if you haven't been on the channel before, the whole purpose of the channel is for me to try this out in real time with you. I haven't heard this at all yet. I don't know what it sounds like. The whole purpose of the channel was kind of born out of the fact that I'm just constantly, I love trying out new software, and I'm constantly looking for things that improve my workflow or things that improve the sonic quality of my workflow. And yeah, just to have some fun and play with plugins. I'm gonna do it anyways. Might as well do it with you all. So before we kind of dig into what's on the plugin and any information that we can find out about it, which is very minimal, I have my own kind of little nerdy checklist that I go through for plugins. So first thing on the checklist is the GUI. The GUI looks really, really great, really slick, really modern, really simple and intuitive, clean, and you can resize it. So we can make it bigger, we can make it smaller. So user interface looks great, looks inspiring to use. That's kind of what I'm looking for. Does it look fun? Does it look intuitive? Looks really intuitive. User interface, great. AB and undo. I don't see any AB or undo. I'm pretty sure this is for the presets. Yeah, for the presets. No AB, no undo. I wish that was on the plugin. Mix knobs. Looks like we have a mix knob on the reverb and the doubler down here. Nothing for the compression. I mean, this is really tailored to somebody's workflow, so I'm not expecting there to be a lot of kind of just functional options available for people. So not a huge strike against it here. Auto gain, doesn't look like we have an auto gain option. We have an input and an output knob, but no auto gain. Meters, and I can see from this that there's a target zone on their meters. We have an input meter and an output meter. There's a target zone on their input meter, and it's based on gain staging. It's based on proper levels, working to proper levels. So I really like to see that, and this is just giving us a target zone as to what we should be hitting to get the plugin to work the way that it's supposed to. So that's cool. So yeah, we have input and output meters. I wish they were just right beside each other, either on the left or the right. I don't need them separated as far as they are, especially with no gain matching option or auto gain option. Oh, latency. Yeah, always with the latency. So this is something that they specifically mentioned on the website. This plugin runs in 0 latency, and I guarantee you that's because this is developed to be able to use in production seamlessly in real time as you're tracking vocals, as you're developing the song, right from the minute you hit record. This is something that can be in your signal chain right through to the end of your mix. So 0 latency, and that's something that they mention on the website, and I think that's specifically because it's meant and developed to be used in production. So that goes through my nerdy little checklist. What do we know about the plugin? Well, we don't know a ton. We carefully distilled Luis's complex chain of compressors, EQs, and creative effects into an intuitive UI so you can concentrate on the performance without the busy work. That's cool. I'm all about workflow. I'm all about speed and sounding good quickly if you can. Keeping a fluid and positive vibe in a session is one of the most important aspects of capturing a perfect vocal performance. With a slew of built-in tools and effects, the Spirit can easily dial in a mix-ready vocal chain in seconds. So that's what this is for. Not a lot of information really on the plugin, and I can't find a manual, which is the same thing for the God Particle. I can't find a manual. I wish there was a manual, even if it's just really simple and basic. And if you're not going to have a manual, maybe just have some tooltips. That'd be really, really great. So yeah, what do we got on the plugin? Well, we have the input meters, output meters, we have input and output knobs, and then we've got this rider section here, which is a input leveling auto ride to ride the vocal level into the signal path, keep it there. That's cool. And what do we got here? I don't know exactly what this is. So is this tied to the rider? I'm guessing it is. Then we've got the compression section, which on off switch, compressor, focus. I'm not sure what the focus does. We'll have to find out. And then basic 2-band EQ, high and low. And then we have our doubler, stereofying, and the mix knob on the doubler. And we have the reverb, low pass filter on the reverb from 2K, starts at 20K down to 2K. And we have a mix knob here. And then we have 2 flavors of verb, smaller room and a plate. Then we have our output knob. So pretty straightforward plugin, not a ton to digest, and that's great. That's what this is built for. It's built for simplicity, for getting good sounds quickly. So how are we going to test this thing out tonight? We're going to try it out on a male vocal and a female vocal to see how it works on both sources. And I've picked 2 songs where there's not a lot of processing on the way in while it was tracked. The vocals are pretty as is on the way in. So we'll really get to see what this thing does. And they're poppier songs. I would put them more in the indie pop world, but in the poppier spectrum. And I think that's something to keep in mind with these kind of signature series plugins is kind of maybe the genre or the area that these producers and engineers work in. That being said, I mean, CLA Vocals is one of the great signature series plugins out there, and I know it's used all over pop music. So and CLA is the rock guy. So yeah, maybe take that what I just said there with a bit of a grain of salt. But yeah, tried to pick a couple of songs that are a little bit poppier and where the vocal isn't super processed. So yeah, let's dig in. So I've just got the vocal dry, nothing on it, and it's just as it was tracked. So I don't think this thing is doing anything off the rip because none of the modules are engaged. I'm not hearing anything happening while it's doing anything. And our levels are matched on the way in and out. So immediately I love this. It's telling us that this is where we want to be living, to be hitting the signal chain appropriately, to be getting the right gain staging through the plugin. So I think the first thing I want to try out is I want to try out this rider thing. Watch it work in there. Always used to that consistently inconsistent. Really hear our vocal volume's coming up, but we're also hearing a lot of in between, getting a lot of the breath. Okay, so these controls are tied. So how quickly is the gain engaging? Got a bit more of an organic sound, it sounds like here, with the attack dialed up. More aggressive sounds. An affectionate cigarette kiss. Always used to the consistent. You really hear the breaths come out with the attack down. Well, let's kind of keep it at a more aggressive setting just so that we can hear what it's doing.
You can't go home again. You can't go.
Okay, so how much is it doing? Well, there's several plugins out there that do this kind of thing. Vocal Rider from Waves comes to mind, and Nectar from Isotope come to mind. I use Vocal Rider a ton, very subtly. The Nectar one seems really colored to me. This is definitely changing the character of the vocal a little bit, but I do really like the sound of what it's doing. Okay, let's see what the floor is doing.
The void of boredom, living on the slide, blushing in the sky. I was
not immediately intuitive to me to what this is doing.
When you ran,
so it's applying notes. So this is really a threshold. I guess that's what this is.
An empty promise and craving.
Okay. I didn't see that little red line there. Little red line saved me there. Pretty great. It does a little bit of auto gain staging, auto vocal riding for you right off the bat. Okay. Well, now we're hitting the plugin properly. Let's try our compression out.
Always the sentimental one using.
So it says compression and focus, and underneath it says character. And I mean, just engaging it.
When you ran the show.
Vocal got very, very different.
Breaking an empty promise and craving. An affectionate cigarette kiss. Always used to the consistently inconsistent. Always the sentimental.
So yeah, getting some gain reduction information there. How hard the compressor is working.
Down long ago when you ran the show.
I mean, the vocal dramatically changed when we engaged that. Just trying to recalibrate myself a little bit.
Always the sentimental one using the words you wrote down long ago.
So those breaths are really coming out. So let's maybe pop up the speed of the rider a little bit.
Breaking an empty promise and craving. Affectionate cigarette kiss. Always used to the consistently inconsistent.
Kind of sounds like multi-band compression to me, if I were to guess.
Always the sentimental.
Or maybe it's a stack of compressors, who knows? We don't really know what's going on in there. Let's see what this focus does.
Breaking an empty promise and craving. Affectionate cigarette kiss. Always used to the consistently inconsistent. You can't go home again. You can't go.
Again, this is not immediately apparent to me as to what the character is doing. Kind of intuitively feel like this is
always a super cautious one feeling.
I mean, this is more of an indie pop song, so I could see how
blushing in the sky.
Pretty organic vocal.
I was restless, reckless, and I
could see how in like a pop production needing a vocal to cut through, that this would maybe be the tonality change here would be great, but it feels pretty aggressive to me. So at -50 here on the focus, the vocal seems the most organic to me. The mid-range really seems to come out as we push it to +50. It seems like really kind of the articulate part of the voice comes through 1K, 2K. kind of in that area, and it seems like the vocal sucks up a little bit.
Go home again. You can't go.
Maybe, is this supposed to be a wall? Like, is it supposed to be some sort of limiting or something?
Go home again.
But definitely gets more articulate the harder we push it. Okay, let's see what the EQ does.
Flashing in the sky, I was restless, reckless, and I swear sometimes I don't even wanna feel, don't even want to heal. 2, 3. Always the sentimental one, using the words you wrote down long ago.
That low shelf made my vocal make more sense there.
The show, breaking an empty promise and breaking an empty promise and craving.
The whole band's really nice.
An affectionate cigarette kiss, always used to that consistently.
Pretty smooth, kind of a sheeny, not super sheeny. It's a bit of an edge to it, but it's not getting aggressive or harsh. But it's definitely cutting.
The words you wrote down long ago.
Lots of air. Lots of the very, very top of the vocal being pulled up.
Breaking an empty promise and craving.
Let's try the doubler out.
You can't go home again. You can't go. You can't go home again.
Really nice sounding doubler.
The sentimental one, using the words you wrote down long ago when you ran the show, breaking an empty promise and craving an affectionate cigarette kiss.
Yeah, great sounding doubler.
Consistently inconsistent.
No complaints there. Let's get some reverb happening.
You can't go home again. You can't go. You
Pretty nice,
always the sentimental.
very modern, shimmery sounding plates.
The words you wrote down long ago.
Very, very long, very dreamy sounding.
The show, breaking.
That's a really great sounding plate. I was just thinking as I was cranking in it there, like, it'd be great if there was a de-esser built into this, because you can really hear that. You can really hear the acid splashes. Obviously, we're really exaggerating it, but it'd be great if you could de-ess the verb a little bit. Now let's try the filter out. Well, that plate's a vibe for sure. And something I really like here is I really like that there's a lot of range, it seems, on their mix until we get, like, that's at 60%, and then really gives you kind of finite control over more of a moderate mix settings.
An empty promise and
That's pretty slick.
An affectionate cigarette kiss, always used to the
Okay, let's see what the room sounds like.
the sentimental one using the words you wrote down long ago when you ran the show, breaking an empty promise and craving an affectionate cigarette kiss, always used to the consistently inconsistent.
Again, very modern, kind of shimmery, clean, but dreamy kind of room.
You wrote down long ago
Really
when
clean,
you ran
but still like poppy. Like there's the pop shimmer on there.
an empty promise and craving an affectionate cigarette kiss, always used to the cigarette kiss, always
I mean,
used to
pretty
the
specific
consistently
verbs.
inconsistent.
They sound really nice though. All right, well, we have a bit of a vocal vibe happening.
You can go home. Always the sentimental one using the words you wrote down long ago when you ran the show, breaking an empty promise and craving an affectionate cigarette kiss, always used to the consistently inconsistent.
I mean, you get a vibe real quick.
The sentimental one using the words you wrote down long ago when you ran the show, breaking an empty promise and craving an affectionate cigarette kiss.
So maybe that rider is a little too heavy-handed for maybe more organic material.
Inconsistent. Always.
I instantly like this vocal better through this chain. Yeah, the compressor character section, I think I might just be fighting kind of the vibe of this song a little bit.
Sometimes I don't even.
The vocal sure is present and cuts though, and not in a harsh way. Sounds like a really good pop vocal. I mean, we're on the backdrop of something a little more organic here, so this does seem to be pretty tailored to modern pop. I wonder, can I easily automate? No. I can't easily automate the knobs. Can't select. Can't quick key them. Sounds great though. Okay. Let's hop over onto a male vocal and see how it does on a male vocal. Here we go. I'm gonna try this without the rider off the top.
It's bigger than anyone.
And it is a double vocal.
It's better than anything. Running through an open field, swimming in the ocean, feeling like a little kid, opening the present.
So that compressor is pretty aggressive.
Don't know how to put it down. Air intake. Open up your rib cage. Hey, see the way your heart beats. You keep breathing. Running through an open field, swimming in the ocean, feeling like a little kid, opening a present. Hey, I got a new thing, I don't know how to put it down. Anyone, it's better than anything.
So yeah, that focus is definitely bringing out that mid-range.
Don't know how to put it down. Air intake. Open up your rib cage. Hey, see the way your heart beats. You keep breathing.
Now we're doing for
Like a little kid. Opening the
CPU usage. CPU usage seems to be next to nothing, which I think for something that's designed to be used in production is huge, because you want to be able to run a ton of them.
Open up your rib cage.
And I don't even think this thing is moving my meter.
See the way your heart beats.
So that's great. Alright, let's maybe just do a run around the presets.
It's better than anything. Running through an open field, swimming in the ocean, feeling like a little kid, opening the present. Hey, I got a new thing, don't know how to put it down. Air intake. Open up your rib cage. Hey, see the way your heart beats. You keep breathing. Running through an open field, swimming in the ocean, feeling like a little kid, feeling like a little kid.
I think it's time to recap. So what were we doing? Well, we're checking out The Spirit from Cradle, which is based off of Louis Bell's engineering and production approach. It's a signature series plugin. It's designed to get a vocal sounding really polished really quickly. So as you're tracking, as you're producing, you're working with a really finished vocal sound. So it's built with speed in mind, and it's built with zero latency and very minimal CPU usage. It definitely sounds like pop vocals to me. We tried it here on a couple of indie pop songs, a little bit more organic sounding pop, and it felt like in our tests here, maybe this isn't the right tool for those vocals. Be more oriented at real modern sounding pop, and that's what this thing sounds like to me. It sounds like modern pop, and it sounds good. It sounds good. I really enjoyed the reverbs on this, the room and the plate. Very modern sounding, very clean and fun sounding to use, like instant vibe with those things. You could use this just as a reverb in a doubler box and it sound great. The EQ section sounded really nice. Sounded like we could really push a lot of top end without a lot of harshness coming, but lots of articulation coming out of the vocal, which is always that thing with pop vocals. Is like, how do you get all of that wonderful air and articulation without it getting harsh or too much? And this seems to really, really nail that. The compression section and focus section, the character, that was pretty aggressive to me, the compressor in particular. And that's where I felt like maybe this is very genre specific for real modern pop or hip hop vocals. The compressor seemed really aggressive to me, and I couldn't really get it to a gentle spot. And the focus, I'm not really sure what the focus is doing. It seems like as I'm turning it down, I'm getting less really kind of articulate mid detail, and as I'm turning it up, I'm getting really articulate mid detail. Vocal seems to get a little harder as I turn it up as well. So I don't really know what that's doing, but yeah, instantly the vibe of the vocal changed pretty dramatically when I engaged those two. So it's not a subtle module, but yeah, the compression in the focus section, maybe my least favorite part of the plugin, just because of the aggression on it. But I think that's really tied to the genre of music and the style of music that I tried this out on. I think if you're working on like pop, like modern pop, Justin Bieber, that kind of end of the world, I think the compressor and the character or the focus are going to be what you're looking for. The rider is really interesting, and as far as like vocal writing plugins go, I think it sounds really good. Things that I would maybe like to see on the plugin, I think an AB and an undo would be great. Just from a functional standpoint, that would really add to the workflow of the plugin. I think that would be really cool. The only other thing I could really think of while I was playing with it is if there was a de-esser into the reverb. If I was able to de-ess the vocal a little bit more, I could definitely hear that it was getting a little splashy on the verb. And maybe on the compressor, maybe if there was a parallel option, just because it is quite aggressive, an aggressive compressor, I think that would also be a great feature. And a manual. Or tooltips. I think that would be great. And I know they have lots of great videos on their website. I know that with Jason Joshua, he does a walkthrough of what it is, so maybe you're supposed to watch the video and get that information, but if there's no manual, tooltips, that would be great. Pretty intuitive though, pretty intuitive. This thing's built for speed. We got instant vocal sounds really quickly. Definitely accomplishes that. I think if you're working on a lot of modern pop or hip hop, anything in that end of the world, I would definitely give this thing a go. I think if you're more organic related, I'm not sure this is going to be the thing for you. Yeah, definitely not a subtle plugin when you engage that compression and character. There's a vibe to it. It's a very specific sound, and that's what it's modeled after. It's modeled after somebody who works very much at the pop end of the world. Lots of hip hop, lots of pop. That's what this thing sounds like, and it sounds great for that purpose. This thing sounds great. I think if you're making folk records, you're probably not going to reach for this thing. That's okay too. I think it's fun and it's easy to use. So I'm definitely curious to try it out on a pop session and try it right from the beginning of tracking to see what it sounds like. Because if you're getting a vocal early on, if you've got just like maybe a bit of a beat happening and a melody, and you start laying down a vocal idea or vocal melody idea, even if it's just some humming, and you can set a vibe to that right off the bat, that changes the rest of the production that you're building around it. And that's what this is built with in mind. So they've accomplished that goal, in my opinion. I think that's going to do it for me. This thing's fun. This thing's fun to play with. So it's a 5-day trial. I recommend trying it out if you're working on lots of pop and hip hop and seeing how it feels. But yeah, thanks for hanging out with me. If you're catching this edited down on YouTube and you're enjoying the content, please hit me up with a subscription, drop me a comment, keep your notifications turned on. All those things would be great. I'd love to see what people think of this thing and where they're using it. But yeah, that's going to do it for me. So thanks so much for hanging out with me, and I hope you have a great night. Take care.